Yo, what's up? So yesterday I reached the point of getting to 2000 in ranked arenas, and so when you reach 2000 you basically rank up to commissioner here, and as of right now I am rank 71, and honestly I feel like I can keep going up, and so we'll see what happens here. And so in this video I'm simply going to explain and how I managed to get to this point here, my arena guide, and how you can do the same, because as of right now I don't think the season 2 is ending in a while. So I mean, if you think about doing arena, I mean, you probably still have a lot of time to level up arena. And so obviously right now I'm playing as a seeker, and so this is mostly going to be a seeker guide. And so I'm gonna go through all of my gear, I'm gonna go through all of my build, my specs, and everything, and maybe some strategies on how you can improve your arena gameplay. And so let's just go right in here. Okay, I'm gonna remove the camera so that you can see properly. And so as you can see right here, I have more than 6200, and so this is my combat power, and I'm playing with those stats here. And I mostly play with strength. I'm not playing with dexterity, and I'm playing with wisdom, perception, and fortitude. And I think fortitude is a very useful stat in PvP, and so you could probably go to 60 perception if you want. The perception, I don't think it's that valuable as a seeker, because as a healer, because you're a healer, you don't really need the hit chance, and you don't really need the CC chance. I mean, it depends on what you want to do, I guess, but I don't think perception is that valuable. And the perception is mostly used for the Vanguard set that I'm using, because every perception that you put into perception, it gives you also some endurance, and so that's kind of why I'm playing with the 70 perception. But there it is. Okay, so those are my stats, and so here, this is the bow of Arc of Lunar Radiant. I think that's the only decent bow that you have as a healer, and so it's probably like a no-brainer here. And I'm playing with melee, AV evasion, skill damage resistance, AV attack chance, and also wisdom for the runes. And here, the wands, I think you have many choices compared to the bows. And so here I'm playing with the Kazazin's Valorious wand. And I think it is quite good. I think it's just a little bit better than the Salvation Overture or whatever. Not exactly, I don't remember the name perfectly, but there it is. And so obviously I'm trying to get the Cordy right now, but I'm still working on it, I guess, because it's an arch boss weapon. And so obviously if you're able to get the Cordy, I think the Cordy is the better wand. But for now I'm using this one. So there it is. I'm playing with magic, AV attack evasion, skill damage resistance, and also some heavy attack. And there you go. And for the trait on the weapons, I mostly go for the HP, the V attack chance, and the attack speed. And so there it is. That's for both weapons. And here I'm playing with the full 4-set Vanguard. And so I'm playing with elm, the elm here, the chest, the pants, and also the legs. And so for the gloves, I think you have many choices for the gloves. And I'm playing right now with the Deep Fattened Grasp. And so I think you can also use the Eternal Warlord. That is also pretty good. And I think some players also play with the 2-set Vanguard and also 2-set Eternal Warlord. And so it kind of depends what you want to do. I mean, there are different builds that you can try and do. And so in my case, I kind of like the Deep Fathom, because it gives me more range and also gives me mana cost efficiency. And so I kind of enjoy that. And so that's why I'm going for these. But you could try different builds, I guess. And here I'm playing with the Opulent Nobles Mantle, and I think that's a very good cape for healers because it gives you mana regen and also cooldown speed. And so the hit chance is kind of meh because you don't really care about the hit chance. But also what's really good on this cape is the weaken resistance, because in PvP weaken resistance is very good. And I'm also playing with the silence resistance, and so I'm going to talk about that later on. And then for the color here, I'm using the primal ritual color. Again, this is probably the best for healer because of the mana regen and also cooldown speed. Here I'm playing with the Bangle of Clearest Night. And here, as you can see here, I'm playing with this bracelet here, but one important thing to note here is that I'm playing with a lot of weakened resistance, and so I'm not playing with the rune synergies, because I just think that having more weakened resistance is more valuable than the synergies, because the bracelet and the belt doesn't give any stats, and so it's mostly just HP and maybe some movement speed. Movement speed, I think, on the belt, and some attack speed on the bracelet. And so I just prefer, instead of having the synergy, I just prefer having more weakened resistance. And so there it is. And here I'm playing with the rune band of the Black Anvil. This is probably one of the best runes you can get, I think. So there it is. And here I'm playing with the Sinking Sun Signet. And so I think that's a very cool ring for healers as well, because it also gives you more range, some mana regen. So that's pretty good. And here finally I'm playing with the Cunning Augur Girdle. And here I'm playing, as for the same thing as the bracelet, I'm not playing it with the synergies. And so I'm playing with the silence resistance and also some skill damage resistance. And so this whole build here is not about optimizing for healing or anything. It's mostly about being a tank. And so all of this gear and all of this, and that's gonna be the same thing for my artifacts and also for my masteries. It's not really about optimizing healing. I mean, yes, healing is valuable, but it's mostly about optimizing your defenses in order to not die. And so with all of this, you're basically a tank. The idea is to get as much endurance that you can get, as much weakened resistance that you can get, and as much heavy attack evasion that you can get, so that you're basically not dying. And so the one thing that I found in PvP in Throne and Liberty is that oftentimes the best way to heal is to simply not die. It's just simply stay alive. And so you stay alive by being a tank. And so that's basically what you're building for here. And so if you look at my stats right here, you can see I have some endurance right here. I think I could go for a little bit more magic endurance. And I'm probably gonna go with the magic endurance on my resonance for my gear here. That's kind of my plan. And so there it is. So I also have some melee, heavy attack evasion, so melee, ranged, and also magic. And also have some skill damage resistance that makes me even more tankier, and also some damage resistance. So again, the idea is to basically be a tank. And you can see some of my stats here. And then one important thing to note here as well is in the CC, I play with a lot of weakened resistance. And so right now I'm about to get 900, and ideally my goal would be to have 1000. So I'm still working on it right now. And as you can see, I also have a decent amount of silence resistance. And so I think silence resistance is really good, especially in small scale PvP, because daggers are a popular weapon in arena. And so because of that, I think being able to counter silences is pretty important, because it's a really annoying CC as a healer. So I just build it for the silence resistance. But I don't think many people do that, so it kind of depends on what you want to do, I guess. So also I have a bunch of mana cost efficiency, cooldown speed. I also have a bunch of buff duration, a bunch of debuff duration. So those are valuable stats. And then if we talk about my skills kind of look like this. And so first of all, we have Healing Touch, and that's basically your most important abilities. That's the abilities that you're gonna spam on your allies. And so the idea with Healing Touch is that you can stack 3 stacks of Healing Touch on your friends. And so in PvP, most of the time, you will not be targeted. It's mostly the DPS that are going to be targeted. And so because of that, I try to stack some Healing Touch on my DPS, because that's probably them that are going to die. I mean, as a healer, since healers are usually so tanky, most people don't attack their healers because they're basically unkillable. And so because of that, I just stack healing touch on my DPS. And so most of the time, I just spend my time like stacking some healing touch. And so I'm also playing with purifying touch. Purifying touch is really good especially to debuff anti-heal, and you can also debuff uh, stuns, and so you can debuff a bunch of things. But that's usually what I prefer to debuff, like the stuns, the CCs, and the entire heal, because it allows me to heal. It allows me to free my DPS or even myself sometimes, and so that's usually what I love to do here. And then here I'm playing with enchanting time, and enchanting time is one of those things that I change from time to time, and so sometimes I play with the burning time instead, because enchanting time I use that by default, but sometimes burning time it might actually be more important, because burning time allows you to mana burn some people, and so especially the opposite healer if there's a healer on the other team. And so I think that's a very valuable skill. But the only thing is that when you play with burning time, this is a weaken, and so since many healers are playing with a lot of weaken resistance, I don't think it's very valuable. And yes, you can mana burn, but since many healers are building weaken resistance, I think that can be very difficult. And so, if you want to like maximize your mana burn, I guess you would need more weaken chance in order to apply against the weaken resistance. And so that's because right now I'm playing with the Valorous Wand, but I think the Overture Salvation, I think it has more weakened chance on it. And so if you want to apply more mana burn, I think this one might actually be better if you want to play with the mana burn. And so because of that, I'm kind of skeptical about the mana burn. I mean, I use it. You can also use it on your on the DPS and also on the tanks, but overall I just think I prefer using the enchanting time. And there's also mastery that also improves enchanting time, and so I kind of like that. And so I did not talk about it, but healing touch I'm not playing with any specs, and purifying touch I'm playing with all the specs because I think they're so valuable. So the first one allows you to debuff a second one, cleanse another debuff. The cooldown is just really good because like purifying touch is one of those things that I just love to spam on cooldown. I use this ability on cooldown whenever possible, and also it applies a healing touch stack on your target, and so that's also another way that you can keep stacks of healing touch on your friends. And so I think that's a very good ability, purifying touch in PvP. And then that's kind of what it is, enchanting time. So the next thing is Nature's Blessing here, and so this is really good if you want to burst healing your friends. And so Vigorous is a very important spec here, so I don't see myself without it. So if you need more healing, then you just make sure that your friend has a healing touch stack, and then you go for Vigorous. And so Nature's Blessing is going to do a massive healing. So you can also play with the cooldown here, but I don't think in Arena it's that valuable. So I think this is good when you're in a big party, but in Arena you could probably change this ability for something else. And also Nature's Blessing is really good if you're actually missing mana, or if your friends are missing mana, because it's actually it actually happens quite often that your teammates are going to get or things like that. And so sometimes I might use Nature's Blessing to actually like give mana to my party. And one important thing to keep in mind with Nature's Blessing is that the range is actually locked to 16 meters, and so all your abilities, the range of all the other abilities, they change, they increase depending on your range. But Nature's Blessing is one of those abilities that doesn't increase. The range doesn't increase with the range, and so I think that's kind of annoying. So it's kind of locked to 16 meters. And so since my range is so high, I often find myself stacking a little bit on my teammates to make sure that they actually get the nature's blessing. Because as you can see here, the clay salvation, the range is really, really long. So I'm able to get to this dummy with the clay salvation, but you see with nature's blessing, it's have to move and stack a little bit more. So that's one thing that I use that. And also it also removes a weakened effect. So I mean, I don't find it very reliable, but it can also remove some weakens. So that's kind of important here. And then my next ability is the Cursed Nightmare. And Cursed Nightmare, I'm not playing with any specs because as a Seeker, I don't like having any specs on Cursed Nightmare. So you could, if you want, you can play with the instant sleep, and you can also play with the sleep where you need to attack him 2 times to wake up the target. But I just prefer having nothing here because as a Seeker, sleep is kind of like your only CC with this build, and so because of that, I just want to make sure that the CC works properly. And so what I usually do when I'm in arena is that I target the opponent healer oftentimes, and I just auto attack him, and then Curse Nightmare puts the target to sleep after 3 seconds. But the thing is that when it's instant, I find that your auto attack, if it goes instantly to sleep, sometimes the auto attack kind of wake up the target, and so because of that, I just prefer not having the instant, so that I'm sure that my Curse Nightmare is actually good. And so since it also takes 3 seconds, it also gives time to your teammates to understand that the target is going to get slapped. And so I think that's a very important thing here, because you want to make sure that the sleep doesn't get broken or anything. And so that's kind of what I think about it. And then my next ability is it is Blast Barrier. And here, this is a very important ability right here. I play with the effect duration, and Blast Barrier, I use it in mostly 2 situations. And so the first situation is when somebody is about to die, I try to put Blast Barrier on him because he has more chance of surviving because it gives more defenses. But also it increases the healing, and so if the target is low HP, then if I pop Blast Barrier and then some Swift Healing, I'm able to basically one shot heal everything. So usually with this combo, I'm able to full HP somebody with the healing increased. And so that's the first scenario when somebody is low HP. And then the second scenario is when I know that somebody is going to take a lot of damage. And so, for example, if one of my teammates or even myself, I know that I'm about to get a lot of damage, or maybe one of my teammates, maybe there's like some sort of great sword that stuns me, that is about to stun me or stun my teammate, then I pop Blast Barrier, because then the extra defenses is going to be valuable against some sort of guillotine or some sort of big ability. And so that's a very useful ability right here. And then the next ability is Fountain of Life. And Fountain of Life, I'm playing with all the specs, and so I just really like this ability right here. And so I also love the mana regen here, the mana recovery. Sometimes I use it for myself, the mana for myself, and also sometimes my teammates are out of mana, and so that's another way that you can give mana to your friends. So that's really good. And so the range increase is obviously very good. And here I think the duration increase is kind of optional. I kind of like it, and but I don't think it's very necessary. And Fountain of Life, I use it in 3 scenarios. And so the first scenario is that I put it on myself here. And so if I know, for example, that I'm gonna get target, that I'm gonna take a lot of damage, or maybe I'm gonna get CC, I just put it on myself and I just sit in it. Because there you go. It's a safe area right here. And so even if I'm get CC or things like that, I'm still getting healed. and so that's really good right there. And so sometimes what I might do as well is that I'm also playing with the Chaotic Shell. That's my favorite block here, my favorite defensive. And so what I might do sometimes is that I might drop the shield, and then I might actually block Q block, stationary block. And so that's a great way to simply like save up some time, just get some free time where you can get healed. And so even if you get attacked, you're still able to heal with the Fountain of Life, and so that's really good right there. So that's the first scenario. And then the second scenario where I use Fountain of Life is when there are many friends stacking. And so for example, if these dummies here are my teammates and they're stacked, then I can simply put the Fountain of Life on them, and so that way they can both get healed. And so if I also get in the circle, then we all get healed, and so that's a very effective way to heal everybody, and so I'm really happy about that. And then the third scenario, and that's probably my least favorite, is when one of my teammates is about to die or is low HP, and if I have no any other cooldown available, then I might drop the circle of life on that person if like I don't have any other choices. But it's not my favorite thing to do because sometimes when people are about to die or they're low HP, they're kind of panicking, and so they run around or whatever. And so DPS, they often run around, and so if I drop the Fountain of Life on somebody, they might go away or they might get out of the circle. And so it's not my favorite thing to do, but sometimes I might do that. And so that's what I do here. And then the next ability is Swift Healing. And Swift Healing here, I'm obviously playing with Healing Transfer. I think Healing Transfer is very important, but consecutive use, I don't think it's very necessary. You could put those points somewhere else. It's just my own personal preference because I'm kind of used to having I'm kind of used to having consecutive use because I was playing Invoker Healer before playing Seeker, and so I'm kind of used to having three heals, so that's kind of why I'm playing with this one right here, but I don't think it's necessary. And so the way I see it is that I'm going to use Swift Healing when somebody is low HP or needs Swift Healing. You know, like when somebody actually needs healing right now, then I'm gonna use Swift Healing. And so when somebody is kind of full HP or is not in a critical situation, then it's better to use Healing Touch usually. And so that's what I think about it. It's just that I love having the 3 charges because if, for example, somebody has some, let's say anti-heal or something like that, having 3 charges allows me to wait for those charges, and you see, I'm able to gain some time like this. So I just think that having 3 charges, it's not necessary, but I love having 3 charges. So that's what I think about that. And then my next ability is Clay Salvation. And I'm playing with the weaken removal on this one. And as you can notice as well, is that I'm not playing with any range on those kills. And so here I'm not playing on Swift Healing, I'm not playing with the skill range, I'm not playing with the Clay Salvation range, and that's because I already have a lot of range on my gear, and so I don't feel like I need to have more range. So you see my range here is almost 28 meters, so I don't feel like I need more range on those abilities. And then here I play with weaken removal because debuffing as a healer is just so valuable. And so you see Purifying Touch, I use this thing on cooldown, and also Nature's Blessing is also another thing that removes weaken, and the fact that Clay Salvation is also removing some weakens, it's just so valuable as a healer. And so there it is. And then my next ability is Invincible Wall, and here I'm not playing with any specs, so when I play in a full party I play with Target Expanded, but in Arena I'm not playing with Target Expanded because usually in Arena only one person at a time will get target, and so I prefer having a full Invincible Wall with full effectiveness, so that it's able to actually save one of my friends alive. And so because when you use target expanded, the effectiveness is also reduced. And so I prefer having a full shield that is going to have a lot of points. So that's kind of what I feel about that. And then my next thing is Blitz. My next skill is Blitz, and I'm not playing with any specs on it. And I know that some people use the cooldown, and also some people use limit break, but in my case, I don't use anything. And I've kind of have mixed feelings about this. I know that it's quite powerful, but it's not very my most favorite ability, because Blitz, what it does is that it resets the last skill that you use, and so you see it's simply amplifying your other skills. And so for example, I might use Clay Salvation, and then I'm gonna use Blitz to use it another time, right? And so I don't feel like Blitz is really part of my rotation. It's just amplifying other spells. And so usually Blitz, I'm gonna use Blitz on either Clay Salvation or Nature's Blessing. And so if I know that my party might need some healing, then I might reset Clay Salvation. If I need more mana, for example, the mana regen could be useful on the Nature's Blessing. So then I might use it on Nature's Blessing. And sometimes I might also use it on Flash Wave. So that's kind of how I feel about it. That's usually what I do with Blitz. And then finally, my last skill is Flash Wave, obviously, because this is just a really good AoE spec, a really good AoE ability. And so I play with Flash Wave and also with the effect duration, because effect duration also increases the heal over time that you put on your target. And so that's really good right here. And so Flash Wave, it has a casting time, and so ideally you want to cast the whole thing, because it makes your spell more powerful. And so ideally before casting the whole thing, you want to make sure that you're not going to get interrupted, and that your party or teammates are going to live through all that casting time. And so I don't really play it for the DPS or anything. It's just that whenever I cast it, I put it for my party, and sometimes even for myself. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Now, if you talk about my mastery, it kind of looks like this. This is the bow right here, and most of this is about optimizing healing, cooldown speed, and also I'm playing with the blue line right here, and this is mostly for defensive, heavy attack evasion, and things like that. And so here I'm going for a little bit of max mana and max damage, and the range is also very good on those masteries. And here I'm also playing with Archer's Surge, because Archer's Surge also gives some damage buff to your teammates whenever you put Healing Touch. And so it's really good because you're able to also stack some, not only Healing Touch, but also Archer's Surge that also increases your base damage. And so I think that's a really good thing if you're stacking Healing Touch on everybody. So I think that's very, very useful. And here I'm also playing with some CC resistance. And here I'm only playing 1 point in Punishing Grip, and that's because it's mostly for the little pill that it does. But you see, I don't think it's very valuable to put more point into it, because like all the points that you put in Punishing Grip, it still has a 6-second cooldown. So I don't feel like having more points is very valuable, and so I just put 1 in Punishing Grip. And so that's kind of how I feel about that. But there it is. And the wand here, I'm obviously playing with the healing effectiveness. I'm also playing with the healing skill cooldown. That's very good. But again, here it's mostly about optimizing for healing, and there you go. The cooldown speed is obviously very good. And here this is all about defensives. and the buff duration, skill damage boost. The range is also very good here. And one important thing here is that I'm also using corrupting it, because whenever I heal, I'm also always auto attacking like some enemy healer or something like that. And so in this game, you can have two targets. And so, for example, I have my enemy target here, this dummy, and then I have this guildmate right here. And so what I'm able to do is that I'm able to auto attack this guy, but then if I have this guy targeted, then I can also heal in the same time, you see? So that's the goal. And then if I need to CC somebody, then I still have my target. And usually my enemy target, I don't change it that much, because I just think it's more management. So usually what I do is that I just target the healer, and then I never change my enemy target. And so usually I'm gonna change my my party target or friendly target, obviously, to heal all my party. And then another thing that I use as well on the wand is the celestial boost. And so I did not talk about my passives, but that's one thing that I do. And also here, enchanting time, it also puts a little shield. So enchanting time here, if you're playing with this spec, it also puts a little shield that I find very useful. And so I think that's very, very good here. And then my passives, they kind of look like this, by the way. So there it is. This is mostly healing passive, so that's really good right there. And this is for survival. This also increases your healing over time from the bow. And one important thing here is Wraith's Beacon. And this is usually for 1 DPS, but since I'm playing with the one mastery, this one here, Celestial Boost, it also increases the healing of all your AoEs, and so I think that's very good right there. So that's why I'm playing with it. So it's not about massive healing, like you do a lot of massive healing with your passives and your masteries. So there it is. And then you can see also my my mastery skills. I'm not exactly sure how to call them. So for now, I'm playing with Overcome Crisis, playing with Survival Skills. I'm playing with Fountain of Revitalization, also Potential. That's for more stats. And ideally, I don't have it unlocked yet, but I would probably play with an Indomitable Stance. So I don't have it yet, but at some point I'm gonna unlock it. So I'm probably gonna replace something else. And then for my artifacts, I'm mostly using the Greed Seeker and 4 set Greed Seeker and then 2 set Ancestral Armor. And so from the Greed Seeker, you're able to get some endurance and also some CC resistance. And so those are very valuable stats in PvP. And so here for the passive, I'm using the Greed Seeker Lunar Stone. And then on the active Solar Stone, I'm playing with Ancestral Armor for the max HP. And so this is basically acting as a heal. And so I just think it's so valuable when you're about to die or something like this. You just pop this and it's basically a free heal. And so I think that's very valuable. And ideally on those artifacts, I'm trying to optimize for either heavy attack chance, heavy attack evasion, endurance, and I'm also trying to get some weaken resistance on those artifacts, and also sometimes from also a little bit of silence. But all those artifacts are kind of like, it's RNG, and so you kind of have to use whatever that you get, the best that you can get. So you know, like all those artifacts, that's kind of like the best that I got so far. So I mean, if I get some better RNGs, we'll see what happens, but for now that's kind of what I'm playing with. And so the idea again is just to basically be a tank. Like you just be a tank, and more endurance, more heavy attack evasion, more CC resistance. That's just really good. And then the 2 sets Ancestral Armor gives you more HP, and so again that also improves your survival. That's really good right there. So as of right now, there are 2 arenas that you can play in, And so there's this arena here with the water or whatever. And so that's the first one. And then the second one is like a circle right here with there's a hook, and then you enter this circle, this round arena, and then you fight in the middle. And so I found that in both of these arenas, you gotta have different strategies because those are different, completely different maps. And so in the first map, well, first of all, let's talk about the teammate that ideally you should have. And so I think what I found is that the best teammates, the best classes that work very well in the arena are the first of all the scorpions, so the dagger and crossbow. They do a lot of damage. They're quite squishy, but they do a lot of damage. And also the ravagers, and so the ravagers they also do very well. So the dagger and great sword they do very well in the arena, and also maybe a little bit less, but the gladiators they do very well, and also the what is it, the shadow dancer, the dagger and spear, but they're also very quite squishy. But my favorite ones are the scorpions and the ravagers, and also the crusaders. I think they're also very good, and especially in this arena here. And you see all with the water and everything. And so this arena is very interesting and very complex. And so this one is it's a swimming simulator. And so ideally in this map you obviously want a crusader, somebody that plays the shield, because like this arena right here, it's not about the damage. When you get into this arena, it's never about the damage. The idea is to simply push people off. You pull them off, you push them off. I don't care. It's a swimming simulator. So the idea is that your tank, your SNS, just pushes people down, just pulls people down, and that's basically how you're going to win. The idea in this map is to create scenarios and situations where you're going to be 3 against 2 or maybe 3 against 1 ideally, and so that's how you're going to win. And so ideally you want to push the healer off, you want to push like somebody that's going to be annoying, and so that way if the healer is swimming, then he's not going to be able to heal, and so that gives you enough time to basically kill the other DPS, the other players. And so what I really love about this arena is that since it is quite complex, it's very easy to find ways to hide yourself. And so my favorite thing to do in this arena is you see these pillars, these little cubes in the middle. And so what I love to do is to simply play line of sight, so that whenever one of the opposite DPS is on me, then I just run around, and so that way if I play line of sight, he's never really able to catch me, and so that forces him to change target. And so when you play a healer, like you're basically never going to get targets since you're so tanky, or you're not going to take that much damage, but sometimes people try to get you anyway, and so when they do, then you simply play the line of sight in this map, and that's pretty cool. And if there's a tank and if there's a crusader or an SNS in the opposite team, you have to make sure that you block the pulls. You have to make sure that you avoid the pushes and things like that, because if you're swimming, then you're not able to heal your teammates, and so that's very, very important. And so in this map, I think it's so important to have an SNS, but other than that, that's kind of what I think about it. And then you have the second arena here that is way less complex, and it is much more simpler. It's just a round arena. There's nowhere to hide. And so here I found that you can have a tank, but I don't think it's the most ideal comp for this one. And so in this one, I found that I think it's better to have 2 DPS. And so by having more 2 DPS, it allows you to do more damage. And if you do more damage, then you have more chance to win. And so since, yes, you can have an SNS, you can have a Crusader, but the peels and the pushes and the pulls, I think they're less effective than the other arena, because you cannot push people down or thing like this. So yes, you can peel, and yes, you can push people off, but I think it's way less effective. And so because of that, I just prefer having 2 DPS in this map. And so in this map, there's nowhere to hide. And so if there's a DPS that comes on you, you either tank the DPS or things like that, or you just hope for some peel from your other teammates. And so it's a pretty simple. And overall, I think that this map is too simple, and I think that this map is too complex. And so that's generally what I think. So I hope that if they add more maps in the future, I hope that they're gonna find more interesting things. And so if I try to compare to, let's say, I used to do a lot of arenas in World of Warcraft, and so the Nagran uh, arena is probably my favorite arena. Let me show that right here. You see this map right here? I think this is in World of Warcraft. This used to be my favorite arena because you see, it's a simple arena. It's just a round. But what makes this arena interesting is that you can also do the line of sight with these pillars here. And so you see, it's simple, but yet the pillars, it's simple as well, but it makes it quite interesting because it allows for different plays. And you see, in this map, yes, it's a circle, it's very simple, but the thing is that it's too simple, it's too boring. But then if you go at this other one, it's the opposite. It's too complex. The water is just annoying. There are too many holes. There are so many ways that it's moving. Then the water level rises. This one is too complex. And so that's generally what I think. And so I ideally want to get an arena that is simple, but not too complicated as well. And so that's generally what I feel about that. And again, your best teammates would be like Scorpions, Ravagers. I think they're the best DPS. And then if you play in this map, I think having a Crusader is probably the way to go. So that's kind of what it is. In the arena, just make sure that you have your World 3 leaves, because that's just a small passive healing. I mean, that can be useful, obviously. And make sure that you have also your Stellar Writ. And so when I'm in the arena, I'm always playing with the best quality Stellar Writ, because it improves your output, obviously. And you cannot use any food buffs, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't think they get counted in arena, and so that's kind of what it is. And also make sure that you have your artifact. I don't think the Guardian is working in arena. And also you can also use Purification Spirit Stone. And so I don't find these stones very valuable, but I mean, it's just better to have one than just not have anything. And so I find them unreliable because, first of all, the stones doesn't remove all the CC. And so as you can see here, I think it removes everything but the prone and the collision. So it removes the stun, the bind, the sleep, the silence, the fear, and that's what it is. But you see, it doesn't remove the prone, it doesn't remove the collision, and that's kind of what it is. And so what I found is that sometimes it removes the effects, but then sometimes it doesn't remove anything. So when I use the stone, I don't know if that's actually going to work. So that's ideally, I think it should remove all the CCs. And also, usually what happens is that when I use the Purification Stone, sometimes I get CC right away. And so that's why I'm playing with the yellow one, because it gives you some sort of immunity for a second. But even with that second, I don't feel like it's actually working properly. And so again, these stones, man, I have one, and I would recommend you to have one. But again, I don't find them very reliable. I mean, it's supposed to be some sort of trinket like in World of Warcraft, but I don't think it's working properly. So when I hit my Purification Stone, I'm aware that it might not actually work. So it's very unreliable. So that's kind of what it is. I hope that this video was helpful to you, and see you in the next video. Peace.